Have you ever felt that fire inside you, the dreams, the goals, the ambition, but somehow you just can't bring yourself to take action? You know you're capable of so much more, yet laziness keeps holding you back, making your potential feel trapped, wasted, or unfinished. If this sounds like you, then this message is made for you. Today we're going to uncover the exact steps that ambitious people like you must take to finally break free from procrastination, stop waiting for motivation to strike, and start turning those big dreams into reality. I'm not talking about quick fixes, hype, or empty promises. This is real, practical, and powerful guidance that can change the way you work, think, and act. By the time this video is over, you'll have a roadmap that transforms your ambition into unstoppable momentum, a system that makes action inevitable, and strategies that even the laziest moments can't defeat. So, if you're ready to stop watching your dreams slip away and start actually achieving them, stay with me, because what you're about to learn could change everything about the way you chase success and live your life. When it comes to ambition, one of the most overlooked yet powerful forces is clarity of purpose. Many people dream of success, wealth, recognition, or influence, but their ambitions remain trapped in a cloud of vagueness because they have never defined what they truly want. Clarity of purpose acts like a compass for your actions. It points you in the exact direction where your energy should flow, transforming scattered effort into focused progress. Without it, even the most ambitious individuals find themselves spinning in circles, accomplishing little, and often succumbing to laziness simply because they don't know where to start. Defining your purpose begins with asking yourself precise, hard questions. What is the exact outcome I desire? Why does this goal matter to me more than anything else? How will achieving this change my life, my family, or my environment? When you answer these questions with specificity, your ambition becomes tethered to something concrete, and laziness loses its grip because you now see the path clearly. Clarity also enables you to prioritize your actions. When you know what you want, it becomes easier to distinguish between what truly matters and what is merely a distraction. Instead of wasting hours on unproductive tasks or drifting aimlessly, you can channel your energy into steps that directly advance your goal, making even small actions meaningful. Furthermore, a well-defined purpose awakens a natural sense of urgency. Laziness thrives when the mind believes there is plenty of time or that effort is optional. By articulating your purpose, you create internal pressure that motivates consistent action. Your mind begins to recognize opportunities, identify obstacles, and adapt strategies in ways that an unfocused mind cannot. Clarity of purpose is also a powerful tool against procrastination. Once your goal is crystal clear, every decision becomes a test. Does this move me closer or farther from my aim? This simple filter cuts through indecision and lethargy, turning inaction into deliberate steps. The mind, when properly focused, naturally seeks solutions, pathways, and shortcuts to achieve the clearly defined objective. In essence, clarity of purpose transforms ambition from a vague desire into a roadmap that guides every thought, every choice, and every action, making it almost impossible for laziness to dominate someone who has truly discovered what they want and why they want it. Ambition alone is not enough to overcome laziness, because motivation comes and goes like the weather, unpredictable and unreliable, and waiting for a burst of inspiration often results in wasted time and missed opportunities. What separates those who succeed from those who remain stagnant is the ability to leverage momentum rather than relying solely on fleeting motivation. Momentum is created by consistent, even small, actions that gradually build a sense of movement and progress, making it easier to keep going without needing constant bursts of energy or willpower. When you begin to act, even in minimal ways, your mind starts to respond to the movement itself. Each completed task, no matter how small, generates a psychological push that carries you forward and reduces resistance to future action. This is especially crucial for ambitious individuals who struggle with laziness, because waiting for the perfect moment or for motivation to strike often leads to paralysis. By embracing momentum, you bypass the trap of waiting and instead create a self-perpetuating cycle where action fuels more action. For example, committing to one simple task daily, like spending 15 minutes on a project, can seem insignificant at first, but over time it builds momentum that turns effort into habit and makes larger challenges less daunting. Momentum also reshapes your perception of effort. Tasks that once seemed overwhelming suddenly feel manageable because your mind is already in motion. In this way, momentum acts as a bridge between laziness and ambition, allowing you to take control even when your energy or enthusiasm is low. The key is to start before you feel ready, because readiness often comes after you begin, not before. Each small action compounds, creating results that reinforce your drive and diminish the mental barriers that laziness relies on. Momentum also interacts with your environment, as consistent activity signals to your subconscious that progress is occurring, which in turn fosters confidence, reduces procrastination, and increases focus. The principle is simple yet profound. It is not the grand gestures or massive efforts that win the day, but the steady accumulation of deliberate actions, each one building upon the last, gradually overwhelming inertia with unstoppable forward motion. And once you harness this force, laziness loses its power, because movement itself becomes the reward, the motivation, and the path toward achieving the ambitions you once only dreamed of. One of the biggest obstacles for ambitious but lazy individuals is the tendency to feel overwhelmed by the size of their goals, because the mind naturally resists anything that appears too large or unattainable, and this resistance often manifests as procrastination or avoidance. The solution lies in breaking every goal into micro-actions, small, manageable steps that feel almost effortless to complete. When you divide a massive objective into tiny components, each step becomes achievable, reducing the mental friction that laziness exploits. For example, if your ambition is to write a book, the idea of completing hundreds of pages can paralyze you, but committing to write just 200 words a day feels doable, even when energy is low. These micro-actions have a compounding effect. Completing one small task creates a sense of accomplishment, triggers a release of positive emotions in the brain, and motivates you to take the next step, gradually transforming inertia into momentum. Over time, the accumulation of these seemingly insignificant actions produces extraordinary results, and the process itself trains your mind to associate effort with progress rather than resistance. Micro-actions also help maintain focus and discipline, because they force you to concentrate on the immediate step rather than being distracted by the enormity of the entire goal. This approach minimizes decision fatigue, which is a major contributor to laziness, because you no longer waste energy debating where to start or how to proceed. Each action has a clear beginning and end, creating structure and rhythm in your daily routine that the lazy mind finds easier to follow. In addition, micro-actions encourage creativity and problem-solving, because smaller tasks are less intimidating, allowing you to experiment and adjust without fear of failure. This builds confidence and resilience, teaching the brain that progress is always possible, even in small increments. By consistently taking these micro steps, you transform your ambition into a process-driven system, where success is no longer a distant, overwhelming concept, but a series of achievable milestones. Laziness, which thrives on delay and hesitation, loses its grip when the mind is preoccupied with completing the next small, deliberate action. Ultimately, breaking goals into micro-actions bridges the gap between desire and achievement, enabling ambitious individuals to move steadily toward their dreams while training themselves to embrace action over inaction, creating habits that naturally overcome procrastination and lay the foundation for lasting success. Laziness often thrives in isolation, because when there is no one watching or expecting results, the mind finds countless excuses to delay action, rationalize inaction, or drift toward comfort. And ambitious individuals who struggle with this habit can easily get stuck despite their potential. Creating external accountability is one of the most powerful strategies to overcome this natural tendency, because it introduces a force outside yourself that compels action even when motivation is low. This can take many forms, such as sharing your goals with a trusted friend, mentor, or colleague, or making a public commitment that others can observe and expect progress on. Once you place your ambitions under the scrutiny of someone else, laziness loses its safety net of privacy, and you feel a natural pressure to perform. This accountability works psychologically, because human beings have an innate desire to maintain their reputation and honor commitments. When others are aware of what you intend to achieve, your mind shifts from optional effort to responsible action. Moreover, external accountability allows for constructive feedback, guidance, and support, which can accelerate progress and reduce the risk of stagnation. Knowing that someone will check in on your progress, or that your goals are visible to a community, creates a sense of urgency that internal motivation alone often cannot produce. This approach also combats procrastination, because tasks that once seemed easy to postpone suddenly take on real-world consequences, no matter how subtle, making it harder for laziness to dominate. The beauty of external accountability is that it doesn't just enforce action, it also reinforces habits. Regular check-ins, progress reports, or public declarations condition the mind to move consistently toward objectives, even on days when energy and enthusiasm are low. Additionally, it fosters a supportive environment where ambition is validated and nurtured, rather than isolated and suppressed. By creating structures and relationships that demand action, you build a system where your goals cannot be ignored, and your natural tendency toward inaction is countered by the expectations of others. In essence, external accountability transforms ambition from a private dream into a shared responsibility, forcing consistent movement and diminishing the power of laziness. Because when your goals are no longer solely in your mind, but tied to external observation, the cost of inaction becomes too high to ignore, and the momentum toward achievement becomes almost unavoidable. Your environment has a profound effect on your ability to act, especially for ambitious individuals who struggle with laziness, because the mind is highly responsive to cues, energy, and stimuli that surround it, often more than to internal motivation alone. A cluttered, uninspiring, or chaotic environment can sap energy, encourage procrastination, and make even small tasks feel burdensome, while a well-designed, supportive environment naturally channels your focus, energy, and ambition toward productive action. Transforming your surroundings is not just about aesthetics. It is a deliberate strategy to shape your habits and mindset in ways that make action easier and inaction less appealing. This can include organizing your physical space to remove distractions, creating dedicated zones for work or focus, and surrounding yourself with objects, visuals, or tools that remind you of your goals and aspirations. Beyond physical space, your social environment also plays a critical role, because the people you spend the most time with influence your behavior, energy levels, and beliefs about what is possible. Being around highly motivated, disciplined, and success-oriented individuals creates a natural pressure to rise to their level, while prolonged exposure to negativity, complacency, or laziness can subtly reinforce procrastination and self-doubt. Environmental cues, whether visual, auditory, or social, act as triggers for behavior. Seeing progress charts, motivational quotes, or peers actively pursuing their goals can nudge your own brain into action, whereas distractions, clutter, or low-energy interactions create resistance and justify idleness. Even routines and habits that are supported by the environment, like having tools ready for action, structured work schedules, or reminders of your priorities, dramatically reduce the mental effort required to start, making it easier for a lazy mind to engage. By intentionally designing your environment to align with your ambitions, you create conditions where productive behavior becomes the default choice, and inaction becomes uncomfortable or unnatural. This principle applies across every aspect of life, from the workspace to the people you associate with, to the media you consume, and the spaces you inhabit daily. In this way, environment functions as an invisible force multiplier. It shapes your focus, sustains your energy, and subtly compels consistent action, turning ambition into tangible results, and gradually retrains a mind that leans toward laziness to respond to cues of opportunity and progress instead of comfort and delay. One of the most powerful yet often overlooked ways to overcome laziness is to focus on rewarding progress rather than waiting for final results. Because ambitious individuals frequently get discouraged by the gap between where they are and where they want to be, and that gap can make effort feel meaningless or exhausting. When you train your mind to recognize and celebrate small victories along the way, you create a positive feedback loop that reinforces action and gradually replaces procrastination with consistent effort. Rewards do not need to be extravagant. They can be simple acknowledgments, moments of reflection, or small treats that mark the completion of a step or milestone. The key is that your brain begins to associate effort with satisfaction and accomplishment rather than struggle or delay, which is especially important for individuals who are naturally inclined toward laziness. By focusing on progress, you shift attention from distant, intimidating outcomes to immediate, achievable actions, making each task feel meaningful and motivating. This approach also builds confidence, because seeing tangible results, no matter how small, proves that action produces outcomes, reinforcing the belief that your efforts are effective and worthwhile. Moreover, celebrating progress encourages perseverance during difficult or low-energy moments, because the memory of past achievements acts as evidence that moving forward, even in small increments, yields results. It also nurtures patience and discipline, teaching the mind that success is a cumulative process rather than a sudden event, and that consistent steps, compounded over time, generate extraordinary outcomes. Rewarding progress also combats perfectionism, which often paralyzes ambitious individuals. By valuing effort and incremental success, you free yourself from the unrealistic expectation that every step must be flawless, reducing the mental resistance that fuels laziness. Additionally, this habit fosters a sense of joy and engagement in the process itself, rather than making action feel like a burdensome chore, which in turn strengthens intrinsic motivation and makes it easier to sustain momentum over long periods. By creating a system where progress is recognized, effort is validated, and small wins are celebrated, you effectively retrain the mind to favor action over inaction, to seek growth rather than comfort, and to gradually overcome the natural pull of laziness, ultimately transforming ambition into a continuous journey of measurable, rewarding achievement. In conclusion, being ambitious is only half the battle. Without action, your dreams remain nothing more than ideas floating in your mind. Laziness can sneak in even for the most driven individuals, but by gaining clarity of purpose, leveraging momentum, breaking tasks into micro-actions, creating external accountability, shaping your environment, and rewarding progress, you equip yourself with a system that turns ambition into consistent, unstoppable action. Each principle builds upon the other, creating a foundation where laziness has no room to thrive and your potential can finally unfold into tangible results. Remember, it is not about giant leaps, but the steady, deliberate steps that compound into extraordinary achievements. Your journey will have challenges, moments of doubt, and days when motivation feels distant. But by following these strategies, you can keep moving forward, no matter how small the step. Good luck on your journey toward greatness. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and never underestimate the power of consistent action. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself and your ambitions. Now it's time to put these principles into practice and turn your dreams into reality.